the analogy that I've always thought of in going through this process myself, right, with other executives, CEOs, CFOs, CMOs, right, the entire management team, we get in a room together. When you start having those conversations about the 10-year vision of the company, right, what are we all here for? What are we all working towards? It's sort of that opportunity to dream a little bit, right?
Yeah.
But what I've always felt in those situations is that when we stop at the 10-year conversation, we're kind of sitting there staring at this massive wall, right, at the end of the day. And if you take that conversation forward, right, and are providing connective tissue each and every step along the way, meaning that in order to be in a good position to achieve the 10-year vision, the company needs to look like this in 3 years. And then having really hard conversations about then, in order to be in a good position in 3 years, what do we need to do this year, right? You need to make sure that there's that connective tissue, right, which I think can be really, really challenging. But the other side of that is that I've found in going through this, that massive brick wall that we're standing at, right, the 10-year vision of the company that we're trying to complete, it becomes much more palatable. And when we start thinking about the 1-year plan and those quarterly initiatives, right, you're going to refer to them as rocks, I think, here, that brings to the surface this idea that how do you build a massive brick wall? Well, you just have to lay one brick at a time, right?
That's right.
And I think, to credit Will Smith, I think Will Smith was the one who ultimately said that. But that's what it feels like in going through that process. Is that what you feel with your clients in going through this exercise?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is, as we teach it. So the 10-year target is really this big, hairy, audacious goal, as Jim Collins calls it, right? It's that BHAG. It's that we're dreaming. We're shooting for the stars, right? And as you say, it's the connective tissue that takes us from, really what becomes a daily and weekly activity list or tools that we use on this daily, weekly basis, straight through to what quarterly rocks, and we'll talk about that in a second, to that 1-year plan, which takes us to the 3-year picture, which takes us to the 10-year. It's all steps in between. When I work with my clients, I often use an analogy. It's a story that actually is true, which is, I started skiing, and bear with me for 1 second, but I started skiing at the age of 24. And when you start skiing at 24, you have this really healthy fear of falling. When you're 4, you don't care. You're 2 feet off the ground. It doesn't matter, right? At 24, you get nervous. So I'm standing at the top of the bunny hill, essentially, and my best friend was a phenomenal skier, and he's like, "Hey, come on, let's go." And I was petrified. At the end of the day, he comes over to me and he says, just focus 6 feet in front of you. Don't worry about we know we have to get to the bottom of the hill. Don't worry about that right now. 6 feet in front of you. Just focus on 6 feet in front of you and deal with the rock or the ice or the child that just shot across from you, or whatever it is that you have to deal with in the immediate. You'll deal with that. And every once in a while, peek up and make sure you're going in the right direction, that you're not going off into the trees. You're not going to hit a pole. You're not going to, hit a snowboarder who just decided to sit down in front of you or something like that. You focused on going in the right direction, but you're just focused 6 feet in front of you. It's little baby steps. It takes you a little bit of the way there each time. And if you just focus and deal with what you need to deal with each 6 feet, you're eventually going to hit your goal. And that's the example that I typically use, because it really illustrates the point of, we have this long-term vision, but there are things that we can do in the immediate, and they come with challenges, right? They come with rocks, and they come with moguls, and they come with ice, and they come with all of these things that we have to deal with, but just deal with the 6 feet in front of you while maintaining the vision on the long-term goal.